For 20 years of working with injured and worried parents, I've had the privilege of answering many questions about daycare abuse. Here, I answer some of the most often asked questions.
When do I need to be concerned about potential daycare abuse?
The potential for daycare abuse should be considered as soon as you begin looking at any child care options, no matter how old or young your child is. Abuse happens to children of all ages and in a variety of different settings. Making good choices and remaining vigilant are critically important to preventing and discovering potential daycare abuse.
How can I best learn if my child's daycare center has a history of complaints?
Many resources exist that can provide you with information as to whether your child's particular daycare center has had any problems in the past. First, check the website of the daycare center licensing authority in your state, such as the Department of Family and Protective Services. Second, make unannounced visits to your child's daycare center and see for yourself whether any problems exist. Third, talk with other families and get a sense of their experiences. And finally, research your child's daycare center. There are many organizations online that are committed to fighting abuse each and every day. Remember, education is the key to recognizing and preventing daycare abuse.
What are some good questions to ask when choosing a daycare center for my child?
There are many questions you should ask your daycare center manager or owner when deciding the best daycare center for your child. Questions such as, do children and staff regularly wash their hands? How many children does this particular center care for at any given time? What is the ratio of teachers to children? What training do your teachers have? Are the children supervised at all times, including nap times? And are there written policies on discipline? These are just a few of the questions you should consider when selecting the best daycare center for your child.
What other considerations should I think about when choosing a child care provider?
When choosing a daycare center, there are several factors you should consider when making the best choice for you and your child. For instance, ask yourself whether the facility seems clean and orderly. Inquire about the ages of all of the children enrolled. Ask about the center's philosophy on care, education, and discipline. And certainly, you want to find out about and fully understand how the providers communicate with you and your child.
Are child care providers required to have liability insurance?
Unfortunately, not all states require child care providers, including camps or after-school programs, to carry liability insurance. Daycare centers, however, are often required to carry liability insurance. You should feel absolutely comfortable asking any daycare center about their credentials and qualifications relating to their ability to take care of your child, as well as asking how medical bills and expenses are handled in the case of an accident.
How are child care services regulated?
In Texas, child care centers are regulated by the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Child care operators must meet minimum service standards related to a child's health and safety. Unfortunately, these standards only provide basic requirements for providing a safe environment and for caregivers to have minimal training and professional development every year. Ask your child's daycare facility whether they go above and beyond in meeting the state regulations, and ask for specific examples of how they do this. Just because your child's daycare center has its license, do not assume that this is the right place for your child until you do all of your homework.
What are typical types of daycare abuse you've seen?
Unfortunately, we have seen many different types of daycare abuse cases. For instance, physical abuse is an intentional act against a child that results in bodily injury or harm. We have seen a case where children were stuck with thumbtacks as a form of discipline. In other cases where children have been physically hit by a daycare worker. Oftentimes, children are hurt because the daycare center was negligent. In these types of cases, workers fail to provide a safe place for children to learn, play, or rest. Cases include children choking on small objects left on the floor, or children not being properly supervised during recess or on field trips, or sadly, cases where children are left unattended in scalding hot vehicles. We have also seen cases where children have been touched inappropriately, and even cases where children have been emotionally abused.
What should I do if I suspect my child has been neglected or abused?
If your child is old enough, speak with him or her to determine whether your child's behavior has recently changed. Second, talk about your concerns with your spouse, partner, or other family member and ask whether they have noticed similar characteristic or changes in your child. Also consider talking with other parents from the daycare center and ask if they have noticed similar things with their children. Take your child to the doctor. A medical doctor is trained to recognize signs and symptoms of abuse. And most importantly, report any suspected child abuse to the state licensing authorities and the local police department.
How do I know if I need an attorney?
Visiting with a lawyer is an important first step in the process of resolving any legal claim. A discussion with a lawyer will help you understand your legal options, what's in the best interest for you or your child, and will also allow you and your attorney to address future concerns and issues with your daycare center. Most legal claims will be handled by an insurance company. These companies are notorious for misleading victims and under-evaluating a potential claim. Their policies are designed to limit the amount of money paid for your child's injuries.
What should I look for when finding a child care abuse attorney?
You must feel comfortable and confident with your lawyer. Approach finding the right lawyer like an interview. Both you and the attorney should have many questions for each other. Good questions for you to ask include, how much experience do you have handling daycare abuse cases? Do you keep up to date with particular changes and updates in the laws and regulations associated with child care cases? What do you see are the strengths and weaknesses of my case? And what is the usual time frame or process for handling cases like this? If you need help finding an attorney, you can always contact your bar association or do an internet search for daycare abuse lawyer. If you would like more information on this subject or answers to many more of your questions, please visit our website, theinsiderslegalguide.com, and request your free copy of my book, Preventing, Discovering, and Acting on Claims of Daycare and Child Care Abuse.